You are listening to Big Trouble in Little Podcasts. And here are your hosts, Joe Dubs and Andy.
Hello, Internet peeps, and welcome to another edition of Big Trouble Little Podcast, episode 69, Giggity Giggity. I am Joe Dubs.
And I'm Andy.
And we are back for our ranking of Star Trek. Live long and motherfucking prospect, but he doesn't say motherfucking.
He says prosper.
Prosper. I said prospect?
You did.
Wow. Yeah, he doesn't.
Just as long as you know that that's not right.
Yeah, I know that's not right. Oh man, what a fail.
Speculator now.
God damn it. Andy, what the hell you been watching?
Fucking nothing. The last week I watched a lot of YouTube. I watched E3, which is a huge waste of my goddamn time. And then I watched some more YouTube. And I played with my dog, and I went to work. I'm sorry. I was doing so good. I had like weeks and weeks and weeks of like, I watched fucking 5 movies, and I'm going to talk about them. This one's from Japan, and blah, 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 but nothing. I didn't watch anything this week, so I've let everyone down.
Yeah. Sorry. E3, we'll be talking about that in our Escape from Side Quest episode. I've been watching a lot of Amazon Prime lately. They've been having some good movies. Some bad.
I'm gonna start watching it tomorrow. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I watched this movie Prodigy, and it's a badly acted movie about a concept about a kid who talks to God, and God tells him about 3 events that are going to be happening in Earth that are going to be extinction of humans. So
3 times.
Well, there's like 3 events, and apparently, like the 3rd event is when the bad humans are wiped out or something like that.
Interesting.
It was okay.
Was anyone in it? Was anyone that I'd recognize in it?
No, they're all just
nobody's.
To tell you, they had military and police, and it looked like they got their costumes from Party City. So if that tells you anything, it's a bad movie. But I like watching bad movies sometimes, just to see.
Yeah. I mean, watching bad movies is great. That's why MST3K kicks so much ass.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? They do have like a good imagination of like what story they're gonna do. It's just that they don't have the budget, and sometimes the writing of the dialogue is terrible, but like the concept of what they were going for is really good. Yeah, and then I started watching a TV show called Electric Dreams. It's about
Electric Sheep.
Yeah, pretty much the same writer, Philip K.
Dick.
Yep, and they turned it into.
Speaking of episode 69, lol, hilarious.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes, and they're really interesting. They deal with a lot of AI stuff. It kind of is like a mix of Black Mirror and Twilight Zone.
When's it from?
Was that?
When's it from? When did it come out?
I want to say like 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. I want to say someone recommended it to me, but I wouldn't swear to it. It's on Amazon Prime, right?
Yep.
I think a friend of mine watched it, and he was like, "Oh, you should watch this," and I was like, "Yeah, I totally will," and I forgot about it because I suck.
Mm-hmm. I recommend it. Each episode has their own story, kind of like with Twilight Zone and Black Mirror. So you don't have to follow a series to know what's going on.
Anthology.
Yeah. And then I watch E3, which I have to agree. I have to agree with Andy. Waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some interesting stuff, but for the most part, it was like I was entertained and thrilled for like 3% of the time, and the rest of it, I was just watching the game industry suck its own dick on stage. So
I gave harsh letter grades to each company, by the way. So
Oh fuck! You did more homework than I did, but whatever. We'll save that for join us for Escape from Side Quest. It'll probably release right around the same time this will. So if you're hearing this, go look for that. It's on most of the same feeds.
hmm And I'm pulling up the IMDb for Wrath of Khan.
Oh yeah, good idea.
If
I don't know. I could just about name all the people who are in this.
no, I just want to because they tell like all the budgets and stuff that are going down.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because I really enjoyed Wrath. Let's get into it right away.
No, yeah. Let's get right to it. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan came out in 1982, right? It is
1984.
1984. Okay, 1984. This is the first of what is known as the Star Trek motion picture trilogy. It's like this one and the two following it are all like they happen back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
So like right where this movie ends, the next one's gonna pick up. And Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is considered the best Star Trek movie, and it's considered one of the best science fiction movies ever made.
Oh, and by the way, you were right. 1982.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. I was like, oh, well, I guess I suck.
The next one is 1984.
There you go.
And I don't know why fucking search engines have to be so stupid. Can somebody like tell me why?
Oh.
Here, I got it. I finally got it. The Wrath of Khan. By the way, the art on each cover box of the Star Trek movies, I dig it. I actually dig it more than what Star Wars usually puts on their posters.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of inevitable, and we're going to do it the whole episode. We're going to do it next episode, the episode after that. We did it last episode. There's a lot of inevitable comparisons between these movies specifically and Star Wars, because if you look at the year, I mean, we're like smack dab in the middle of the original Star Wars trilogy right now. And when New Hope came out, it's hard to keep from underemphasizing how important that was to like movies, because it changed when movies were supposed to be coming out. It changed like the idea of the blockbuster. Like Jaws kind of got it rolling a little bit, but Star Wars like changed everything. And these Star Trek movies are coming out like in the wake of that, but they're still very much trying to do their own thing. The first one especially, but this one a little more so is like, no, there's space battles, there's excitement, some people get shot and like fucking disintegrated by phasers in this. Like the first one, they don't fire phasers once, and this one, there's some phaser fire.
Yeah, and what really threw me off, because I didn't watch the original series, I knew about him, I just didn't know of the story. I mean, if you watch the new one with J.J. Abrams, they kind of indulge into that story a little bit.
That's part of excuse me. That's part of I didn't of the three new movies, the second one is my least favorite, and that's the one that's got Khan in it, and they really emulate this movie a lot, and it's kind of a shame that you'd seen that before you saw this movie. But I kind of like that more because I have never, to this day, seen the episode of the. I've never seen any episode of the original series, let alone the episode that deals with Khan and all of his followers being refugees from Earth. They're all genetically. They're part of the eugenics wars, I think. I don't know. I might be making that part up, but it's like the late. They're like 1996 or some shit like that, which is kind of funny considering what year it is now when we're watching it, but.
Yeah.
They're all the stuff they give you in this movie about it is, in my opinion, as long as you've got a brain between your ears, more than enough. Like you can watch this movie by itself and piece together like the stuff that Chekhov says when they capture him, and some of the stuff that Spock says, or not Spock, Kirk specifically. It all fills in, like you get it, and he's angry that they stranded him on that planet, Steady Alpha. They thought it was 5 and ended up being 6 or vice versa. And they straight them there. They're all genetically engineered super soldiers that are all fiercely loyal to Khan. Khan wants revenge on like a deep-seated level against Kirk, and that's it. They portray all of that in the movie very easily. They don't have to like force feed you a bunch of information. And the new one, I'm not saying did that necessarily, but it did it more so, and it did it like more than I felt was necessary. But that might have just been because I already knew the story. I don't know.
You could definitely tell there was history, which they allude to, and then Chekhov going Khan, like again, like Andy said, you don't really need to watch the TV show to understand. But
No,
there's
a lot of people like this movie's super famous and it's a great movie, but I've known so many people who are like, "Oh, I've never seen the original series. I shouldn't watch it. Oh, I haven't seen the first movie. I shouldn't watch it." You don't have to watch any of that shit. Just watch this movie.
hmm and again, the cinematography in this is really great. I love that they didn't have like the 20-minute looking at the Enterprise thing.
Yeah, thank God.
And then last movie we saw, we had the guy from Seventh Heaven, and then in this one we have the girl from Cheers. so,
Yeah.
so it's like, wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing how many like known actors are in these like sci-fi things.
I mean, Star Trek was a big name, so
I guess everybody wanted to, kind of like how everybody wants to be in Star Wars these days in the
or
movies.
Marvel for that matter.
Yeah. Um, what do you think of Khan, by the way? Did you like the
Oh, it's
actor?
great. I was talking about it when Ricardo Montalban turned up in the Apes movies when we were watching them. I mentioned it then, and he's the best. I love watching him act, and it's like it feels like he's chewing the scenery, but I just forgive him immediately. It's just something about him. He's so charming.
hmm
And in this movie, he's so like it's still charming, but it's like the scary charming. Oh, I love it. It's great.
He's ripped to hell. Like everybody in that planet's ripped.
I think that's all like fake prostheses. It's like a stupid thing they've got him wearing. It's funny.
It's very Mad Max look to it because of I guess the barren planet, and they're all living like uh, I guess like savages in a way. Uh, I what do you think? We're gonna be jumping around, and we're also gonna be doing spoilers, everybody. So
Yeah, we already have for that matter.
yeah. Um, the mind control creatures, I didn't really care for it, but I guess that's a good plot point of having Chekhov and them taking over that other ship.
Yeah, it's a dumb mechanism, but it leads to it's interesting.
hmm Uh, s- what's great about this film too is that it starts off as a training mission, and then it ends up being a full-on like rescue mission. Uh,
Yeah, they're just like screwing around, and just like always, every Star Trek story ever, they're the closest ship. They're the only ship in the area, the system, the quadrant, the whatever. He says that in this movie. I think we're the only ship in the quadrant. Isn't the quadrant like a quarter of known space or something?
yeah,
I don't know if that was the right word or whatever, but
I think it's more of Captain Kirk being of a cowboy and be like, I want to be the number one, or always winning and doing things. So maybe there is other ships. He just doesn't care.
maybe if there is, they don't mention it. It's just they're the only ones out there. We need you to go check out what's the name of the space station? They say it like 100 times.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, they gotta go regular one. They gotta go to regular one, and that's where um Dr. Carol Marcus, who, as I understand it, is also from an episode of the original series, but not the same one. It's
hmm
also something they pulled from the original series and like revamped. I guess obviously they had a thing because they have had a son, and I'm a little confused about whether or not Kirk fully knows it's his son. I think he thinks, and then of course she reveals it anyway.
Well, I think he gets a sense of it when Khan leaves him on regular one where the Genesis was, and he's like, "Is that who I think it is?" And he's like, "Well, why didn't you tell him yet?" And then she's like, "Well, were you gonna be here to be a father?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
I totally
Yeah,
understand.
that's when they're in the Genesis cave. That's pretty much when the cat's out of the bag.
All right, I want to.
Oh, real quick, interesting fact about this movie: Regular One, the space station. It's the space station from the first movie turned upside down. It's the exact same model.
Oh, really? That's nice.
Isn't that stupid?
It is, but
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to miss, which good on them reusing that effect. They also reused that shot of the three Klingon cruisers at some point in this movie too.
hmm, nice. The Genesis thing. One, it's not a weapon. First of all, they were doing stuff to create life. Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, it was like she explains it in the movie, but it's like it rearranges matter on a molecular level to create the building blocks of life. You know, something science. Basically, all you need to know is this is a thing that'll like, you know, clean the surface of a planet or planetoid and create life there. So whatever's there gets destroyed in favor of an M-class planet, I think is what they call it in Star Trek. It sustains life. It's got water, etc.
Hmm. And what a plot device to put in there to, bring back a character later on, which is pretty interesting.
I know what you're thinking. It's the same thing I was thinking, but I don't want to spoil anything. Just it's so interesting because everyone thinks exactly what you're thinking, including me. And then you watch the next movie and you're like, oh, okay.
I hope it's not some type of like time travel thing, but I don't want to be
No,
spoiled.
no, no. It's just you'll see, you'll see.
Um, what else can I say about this film? I will say this: I did watch it twice, and
Oh wow, really?
yeah, I watched it last night when I was dead tired, and I want to say parts of it did put me to sleep, but not on purpose. Where I'm like, oh my god, this is a boring storyline. I was just tired. So when I woke up, I rewatched everything again, the parts that I missed, and I did miss a big chunk. Imagine if I came here for the review and I was like, "Yeah, I remember when they met at Con, and then Spock died at the end." The end.
Another interesting thing about this movie, one of my favorite facts about Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which I brought up last week, is they don't fire a phaser once in that movie, and I love that. Like it's like, oh, they didn't need that. They
Mhm.
told a compelling story. There didn't have to be any conflict. A cool thing about this movie that is also like, oh, that writing's interesting. It's like such an interesting story of Kirk versus Khan, and they go back and forth. One of them's got something over the other. There's a victory. There's a surprise. They don't appear on screen once this entire movie. They're never. They only talk through view screens. And if you heard that, just like with the phaser thing, if you heard that but hadn't seen the movie, you'd be like, "Oh, that sounds stupid." But man, it works so well. I love it.
Mhm. What did you think of Savick, by the way, played by Christy Alley?
She's fine.
I did not appreciate her at all.
It's so hard. I hate when a good actor has to play Vulcans because they have to be,
No
emotionless.
emotion.
That's the
Yeah.
point. And if they're playing a Vulcan well, they should be boring. So it's, I I want to be like, "Oh, she sucked," but actually she was great
Hmm.
because she's boring. So I don't know. It's hard. If they were like, "You're going to be cast in a Star Trek movie, what race do you want to be if you want to show off?" Vulcan is the bottom of the list, and Klingon is the top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't like her. Obviously, because she was scripted that way to be like, question everything. Why do you have to have emotions to do this easy, logical thing to do? Because that's how Vulcans think. They have the logical answer all the time.
They
Uh,
do the same thing from the first movie too. She says, uh, "Admiral, um, whatever procedures say whenever you're approaching another ship, you're supposed to," and she's going to say like, "Raise the shields." And Spock's like, he's well aware of the procedures, and he doesn't do it. And then at the end of that, after they get their ass handed to him, he's like, "Mr. Savick, you go right on quoting procedure." Like they do that again. Like Kirk was wrong. Someone tried to correct him who's younger than him, and
mhm.
he thought, "No, no, no, I'm smarter than them. I'm old. I've done all this. I'm smarter than all these young trainees." And then at the end of that, he's like, "No, I'm not. I learned something. You keep quoting to me what I should be doing because obviously I was wrong. You were right."
Yeah, but the thing is, the other captain in the last movie, like he had a story arc. Savick didn't really have a story arc. Like she pretty much learned what Spock was to Kirk in a way. That Spock and him had a friendship, and he was a valuable person. And then she also learned how Kirk thinks, how he always wants to win, how he cheated in the training mission to you know do because he wanted to win. Like I felt like there was no payoff for her at the end besides saying, "Hey, she might be in the TV show later on," or more things because she's in a sense replacing Spock, I guess.
She it's worth noting too, again, this movie and Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4 are all like connected. So it's worth noting that her character is supposed to like continue developing over the course of the next movie.
Okay, that makes
I
sense.
I don't think they follow through as much as they want to because I think the actress changes, which is really frustrating. But like, don't be too harsh on it because it's meant to be taken as like a whole thing. But that being said, as far as this episode 69 of Big Trouble in Little Podcast goes, we're judging this movie, on its own, sort of judge it that way for now. But I'm just saying, like, we'll come back to it later.
hmm I I want to say I love Chekhov, but everything that he does is amazing.
Yeah, he gets like more of a part in this.
hmm And I love that. Who's the black guy that played the other captain? Paul Winfield. I think he was in Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
he was in Terminator. He was in Cliffhanger. And let me just go to the 80s really quickly and see if I'm right. I cannot see it. He did a lot of movies.
Well, cool. I mean, I definitely recognized him, but I wouldn't. I can't put as many names to it like you can.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he was pretty awesome. I just love when in Star Trek, and they always do this in the TV show. When they get hurt, they over exaggerate the hurt, and they do this in the movie, especially when the mind control. And that's another thing. These mind control creature things, was Khan controlling these creatures, or was the creatures?
No, he explained it. It just makes them extremely susceptible to suggestion.
Okay.
So I took it to be, look, we've been on a planet with these things for years at this point. I think he says 20 years. I can't remember. So they've just kind of learned how to exploit that. And he says like it killed like 20 of his people because at the end of its ingestion in their brain, it like causes madness or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah. I really liked what they did with that. I really liked the other ship, by the way.
The Defiant?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, wait, what's it called?
I don't know, just the other
Reliant. Not the Defiant. The Defiant is Deep Space Nine.
ship. Yeah, I really liked the design of it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool looking ship.
Do you have anything negative to say about this movie?
Oh, I know there's got to be something. Nothing's really coming to mind. There's a few scenes that are shot a little flat. It's just like the scene where Bones brings him his birthday present, and he's got the glasses for him, the Romulan ale. It's just kind of like the cameras in the corner of the room, and they just kind of talk. And what they're talking about is really interesting, but the scene itself isn't shot very interesting. It's just kind of, oh, look, here's two guys talking. They're talking. The scene's over. But that's okay. It gets its job done. There's some utilitarian screen direction, blocking, and cinematography in this movie, but that's not what the movie's about. So I can kind of forgive it that. Gosh, I can't think of much.
I can't think of anything either. I think this movie.
The soundtrack is fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your reminder.
Oh,
The Sonic C.
Alexa, stop.
Alexa wants to chime in on this this podcast. Yeah, I can't really think of anything.
Alexa, you said her name, and now she's listening.
Thanks for telling me.
All right.
Okay, she stopped.
The score of this, like you were saying, is really awesome, especially in the beginning. Like in the beginning when I was watching this movie, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the the movie, it puts you in the mood, and especially in certain areas and stuff.
Yeah, I love the music when they're having the battle in the nebula. It's great.
That battle scene is really fucking awesome. I mean, it ages, obviously. The special effects is really good for that in the 80s, especially coming off of Star Wars and everything.
Yeah.
Uh, but I really enjoyed like the Khan versus Kirk kind of battle. I wish, and don't spoil it for me because I don't know if somehow Khan did live through that, and later down the road, like there's a battle. Uh,
I won't say anything.
yeah, I would really enjoy that, but I can't really think of any negative things to say. Like there was no uh drawn out scenes like they had in the other one. Uh the camera shots were amazing. You said that one when Bones goes to his place felt really flat, but I just didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you asked if I could think of anything negative, and I had to really, really think to even come up with that. So,
And the whole thing with his glasses in the book, and you know they mentioned, oh, you really like those antiques and stuff. Was that to like jab at Kirk saying he's getting old, but he doesn't?
yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about next. Is like the themes of the movie. Obviously, revenge. Revenge is really obvious, and the other I think obvious one is growing old and aging because they come back to that several times in the movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
always like, "How are you feeling?" He's like, "I feel old, Bones." Oh, because he's allergic to something that they can do surgery on his eyes that'll get rid of his farsightedness.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, "Oh, I'm allergic to that." He says, "I know. That's why I got you the glasses, you idiot." And he's got glasses, and there's a few other times where it's just like him being old is like mentioned. It's part of the scene. It's not like the whole thing or anything. And then that really nice part at the end when they're looking down at that new planet and how do you feel, Jim? Because he's talking about Spock and they think he's like sad. Of course he is. How do
Mm-hmm.
you feel? And he says, "Young. I feel young." That's a huge theme in the movie and an overarching theme, and it's done really well, and I really like it. Like revenge is the obvious one, but I really think age is the star of the theming show in this. It's killer. The writing supports it, the acting supports it, the conclusion, everything else about the plot. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with that, and he read through that book pretty quickly, by the way. Like,
Yeah, no kidding. He read War and Peace over the course of this movie. I was like, when did you do that?
I was like, did he bring it when he was trapped in the cave? And that's another thing I want to bring up, um, because when Savick was like, "Oh, what'd you do in your training?" He's like, "Well, I cheated and stuff." When he's talking to Khan, right?
Mhm.
He had to plan this before going there, knowing that Spock would bring him out in 2 hours or so.
Hmm.
Why did he freak out saying Khan? Like because he got the Genesis, or
Yeah, he stole Genesis. I don't think that was in the cards. Also, Khan was just threatening and evil, and plus he needed Khan to think that he was trapped there.
oh, okay, that's another thing I was gonna bring up. Did he do that to kind of act like, "Ha, you got me, and now I'm trapped here"?
Yeah, that's part of it. Like when they're talking on the radio, it's an unencrypted channel. They're doing it on purpose. They're playing Khan like a fiddle. He's getting tricked, and
Hmm.
that's why when they're like, "Oh, hours instead of days, minutes instead of hours," you're supposed to be like, "Oh, that's really clever." Or, "Oh, good job, got me."
Now I know why McCoy was like, "How can you eat at the time like this?"
Yeah, and that's why he's so like, "Oh, no big deal. Just gonna kill 2 hours, I guess."
Hmm. Yeah, I really liked that scene a little. I mean, obviously because it's iconic, even though everybody knows that's an iconic scene of him screaming Khan, even if you didn't
Yeah,
watch the movie.
yeah,
That was what's funny is always thought that Khan, the screaming of Khan was at the end when Spock died. I was like, because I knew Spock dies
right.
because of the newer movie.
Right. Yeah. You see, that's why it's such a shame that you saw that before you saw this. But I mean, it doesn't take away from how good this movie is. But yeah, it's little things like that it's kind of a shame it took from you.
Hmm. Other than that, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie over the first one.
This movie is, I'll just say it, this is the best movie we've watched so far as our ranking things go. Like in the history of the show, I can really only think of one movie that might be better than it, but even then, I think I'd err on the side of this just because it has this movie has contributed so much to movies as a whole, to science fiction, to like the cultural zeitgeist. I mean, look at uh how often they spoof yelling Khan, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Mm-hmm.
Um so much stuff from this movie. And a lot of it is the stuff that Khan says, he's quoting that you see that shot of the books when they're on SETI Alpha 5, and you see Moby Dick, Paradise Lost, and something else. I can't remember what the other one is. I really should know. But you see like those books sitting there, and obviously he's read them a million times because they're stuck on this planet and that's all they got.
Mm-hmm.
And he quotes I'll chase him around this, that, the flames of perdition. And he quotes Hell's Heart I Stab at Thee. He quotes a couple other things. People misattribute those quotes to this movie instead of the classic literature they're from. That's how ubiquitous this movie is. People hear a quote from Moby Dick and don't even realize it's from Moby Dick. They think it's from Wrath of Khan. That's hilarious. That's how popular this movie is. And you know, it's been spoofed. The story has been spoofed all over the place, and the characters, and this is such a big movie, and it's such a big deal, and it's so good. And I know so many people, close friends even, that are like, "Oh, I can't watch it. I haven't seen the first one. I haven't seen the original series." You don't need to watch Dick. Just go watch this movie right now. That's my. I mean, you know, I'm cutting to the end here. My recommendation is watch this movie immediately.
Yeah.
This movie is a classic.
And I really want to say this. These uniforms that they wear in these movies are so much better than Next Generation, the old ones, the old TV show, and I want to say any other Star Trek TV show. I really love the red vest kind of thing that they go.
These uniforms look super cool. They look great. They're designed great. But man, I'll bet you they are uncomfortable as hell. They're like 3 layers deep or something.
Mm-hmm.
I always like that, and they do it in Next Generation too. But whenever someone stands up, they always grab their uniform and straighten it. You know, you'll notice they grab the bottom of the shirt by their thumbs and pull it straight down. Even when he's freaking dying of radiation, when Spock stands up, I noticed he did it.
Yeah, I want to bring that up too. I was like, even when he's dying, and I think that goes with Spock too, having good posture in front of your
I would think if you were a Starfleet officer, it would just be part of standing up. Like you wouldn't even be thinking about doing it anymore. It would be like a muscle reflex. And also, it could be like, as far as shooting a film goes, they're like, look, your uniform has wrinkles in it. This is a really important scene. We need this scene to look really good. When you stand up, just real quick, just straighten your top. Try not to draw attention to it. But of course, we noticed it. So.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely say I totally recommend this film. But Andy, where do you rank this? Since you have the motion picture at number 3, where do you put?
This is number 1. This is like, I mean, come on, get out of here. But again, I'm gonna reserve. I'll wait and see. Maybe something will change my mind because there's another one later on. I've said it before, but I'm gonna go ahead in case someone's listening to just the Star Trek episodes. I'm gonna go ahead and not say anything. There's another one that I remember loving a lot, and I can't wait to watch it again. I don't think it's gonna dethrone this one as my favorite, but we'll see what happens.
One of my friends gave me a tease. They're like, "Well, something happens with whales," and I'm like, "Whales?" And they're like, "I'm not saying anything more." And I'm like, "Okay." For me, I put Star Wars: The Wrath of Khan at number 1. Star Trek. Fuck. Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan at number 1, and then I have the motion picture at number 2 because that's the only 2 I've seen, and I really like The Wrath of Khan over the first one, even though I kind of dig the first one still a little bit.
The first one is so unique; it's so hard to compare it to the other movies, but you have to, and here we are to do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Again, there's like no news because Toy Story is coming out. So there's a lot of like Toy Story news. Keanu Reeves is in it. If anybody wants to know.
Keanu Reeves is in fucking everything now.
Yeah.
I swear. Okay, I want to talk about this. We could have talked about it on the next show too. But Keanu Reeves is doing something. I think he's like hired someone, or he has like a firm or something that wants to put him in the public eye more so. They
Mhm.
want him to like. He already has a really good public image, but I think they want to like blow it up even more. I think he's spending some money and time to make sure that he is positioned to become like one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, even though he kind of is. He's one of them now, but I think he wants to be even huger. It's something because he like turned up at E3. He's got small roles in a bunch of movies. He's got big roles in some like really prominent movies.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I've been seeing him turn up in like ads or my Facebook feed, or this is how cool he is. Now there's that meme, "You're breathtaking," which obviously he didn't plan for, but how perfect is that?
And it looked like he generally. We'll talk about this in the next episode, but it looked like he generally is having fun. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, like he's so likable too. So I'm not saying like, oh, he's scamming us, but no, you're right. You're right.
and I was actually talking to my friend about this. I was like, he seems more popular now after doing John Wick than what he did in The Matrix. Like
After
it.
the Matrix, I was thinking that too. Like I think this is the biggest he's ever been, and the second biggest would have been after the Matrix.
Hmm. And what's funny is like Keanu Reeves, when he before he started doing John Wick or getting popular during John Wick, he was in like small parts in movies. Like I remember him in Neon Demon, where he showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, so like he he went up the ladder. He went back to square zero, and just
I wouldn't say zero, but he went down. Honestly, if you'd have asked me years ago, I would have said he was on his way out. He's just gonna get those sweet the money from the Matrix and Bill and Ted, and he was just gonna be like, okay, whatever. I guess I'll just retire.
hmm.
But no, now he's bigger than ever. And honestly, I think we're just gonna see more of him. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I didn't hate or love him before, but now I'm like, oh man, he's so cool. He's a cool guy. I like him. He's really charming and charismatic, and I like seeing him and stuff.
Hmm. I want to see
So
more action films and
he
video
got
games.
me.
All right. I think we will end this episode. Guys, we are taking a 2 week break. I know Andy said that he might have something special for us while I'm taking a break because I'm
Maybe
taking.
I hope so. Watch the feed. I'm gonna try to arrange something. I can't make any promises. In the break, I'm definitely gonna watch. Well, obviously we're gonna watch Star Trek 3. Duh, you gotta go watch that. But I'm gonna try to watch a bunch of movies. I'm gonna try to make it more relevant, more recent, and I'm gonna watch Too Old to Die Young, the new Winding Refn show on Amazon Prime.
Hmm.
You should go watch it too. Make it successful. I want to see Refn make more cool stuff. He's got a lot of cool ideas.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be seeing Dark Phoenix, probably. Well, obviously Toy Story 4, and then probably MIB International because I've seen every MIB movie, so I guess I'll follow this one, even though it's getting like terrible reviews and people are just shitting on it.
I'm gonna try to see The Dead Don't Die if it ever opens around here, for God's sake.
We'll see it somehow.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Don't you worry.
So next, in the next movie in 2 weeks that we'll be coming back to is Star Trek 2: The Search for Spock. Make sure to watch it. Come back here and then we talk about it. To catch all our podcasts, go to Podbean, which is novnetwork.podbean.com. We're also on the Apple Podcast Store, which is not. They're closing down iTunes. So Apple Podcast Store, search for Nerd Review Network, and then also we're on Spotify. So if you want to go to Spotify and listen to us, we are there, Nerd Review Network.
Go to all of them.
Yep.
Go and comment and like and subscribe and upvote and I don't know, whatever. Do all that. Do the stuff. Interact with us online. Tell us we suck. I don't care.
Yeah. If we suck, well, then we'll just keep on making sucky stuff or make it better. Who
Yeah,
knows?
tell me how to suck less. I'll do it. I'll do it in small increments so that it's nice and gradual for you.
Yep. Until next time, everybody. Have a I almost said Happy New Year, but 4th of
Yeah, why
July.
not? Have a happy New Year. Fuck it.
4th
Plan
of
a New Year's party. Invite all your friends. They'll be confused, but they'll come over and party. Who cares?
Yeah, and then do fireworks like 4th of July. But happy 4th of July, everybody! If we don't come back in time for that, so all right, guys. Later. Peace out.
Thanks for listening.